Chamai, Alutiiq greetings. I am Mary Youngblood. I am half Chugach Alutiiq from Port Graham, Alaska on my mother's side, and Seminole and Cherokee on my father's side. And welcome to Learn Native Flute. I've been teaching for almost 20 years, this beautiful instrument. So I'd love to be able to teach you what we can do with this. It's an absolutely beautiful instrument. It almost teaches you how to play it. It's so user-friendly. So we're going to start off with positioning. And when I first meet a new flute, I look at it, I hold it, I kind of get to know its spirit, if you will. And I like to play the 6-hole flutes. The Native American flute comes in 5 and 6-hole. Most people are playing the 6-hole flute, and we'll get into the reason being in a little while. They are pentatonic, which means kind of like playing the black keys on the piano. So they're minor pentatonic instruments, although I do have some diatonic flutes. But when you first hold a flute and meet a flute, look at it, hold it, touch it. The way you start is to put the left hand on the top and the right hand on the bottom. And most all woodwind instruments are played like this, even if you're left-handed. So left hand on the top, right hand on the bottom. And you notice that I have my thumbs and my pinkies bracing the flute. And that's really, really important to have a good hold, to get a grip, if you will, on this instrument. As you're going to be lifting your fingers up, you're going to need that grip to hold on to it pretty well. So I've got left hand on the top, right hand on the bottom. I've got a nice grip here. And you want it to be comfortable. You want to sit comfortably. You don't want to have to put your shoulders out too much or the flute up. It needs to be really comfortable and just right in front of you. Now, some flutes are really, really fancy. This is more of a fancy flute. This is made by J.P. Gomez, and we'll also get into flute makers and flute making and the differences between flute makers and their styles of making this instrument. The sound hole is here. This is where the majority of the sound comes from. I've done a lot of recordings, so we have discovered that a lot of the sound comes from the bottom. Some sound comes from the holes, but most of it comes from this sound hole here. And Native American flutes are made in 2 pieces. This is the first section right here. And then there's a block right here. And there's 1/32 of an inch between the bird and the flute bore itself. So all that air that you're putting through with your breath is coming out of here in a very small space, which gives it the volume and the sound that you hear. And then the rest of the tube is just simple. It's really a simple instrument, but yet it sounds so beautiful. So we're going to be learning how to play the flute, how to use the embellishments of the Native American flute. We're going to be working on how to enhance your skills on the Native American flute if you already play. If you're brand new at this, hang in there. And I think you're going to discover that this is just an incredible journey that you're on. I have students that have never played an instrument in their life, and they sit out in their backyard and play their flute as they're learning and just doing scales. And neighbors will say, "What are you doing? What are you playing? It sounds so beautiful." So there's something really magical about this instrument right off the get-go. The first thing we're going to do is learn the scale, the basic scale. And you start with all 6 holes down. And as we go up, lifting each one up starting from the bottom, we're going to keep the ring finger down on the left hand as a general rule. Now down the road, you get to break that rule, but as you learn, always keep the 3rd finger down, and we'll get into some of the reasons why. So this is how you want to start. You want to get the fundamental. The fundamental is the lowest note on the flute, and that depicts what key the flute is in. So for a lot of these beginning lessons, we're going to be working in the key of A minor. This is an A minor flute made out of African walnut. And the hard wood seems to make that sound really crisp. Now, traditionally, Native American flutes were made of cedar or redwood because the softness of that wood created such a haunting sound. Well, flute makers have taken it up several notches over the years and learned how to use exotic woods. And it does change the sound a little bit. So this is going to be the scale on an A minor pentatonic 6-hole Native American flute. So we're going to go up to the top of the scale and then try to come back down with one breath. And this very simple exercise is to help develop your breath control. And this will become more and more important as we go through these lessons, is building your breath control. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. So to start, you want to go up to the top note of the flute and then come back down in one breath. You can always stop there if you're a little short of breath or you're just a brand new player. Stop at the top and then take a breath and then go back down. Now, it takes a while for your fingers to memorize where these holes are. And you'll notice that the more you practice these scales, the more you're going to be able to find your way up and down, because you do have to cover your finger over each hole perfectly. Because if any air is leaking out or anything's peaking or it's not completely covered, you won't get that tone from that note. So you will have to learn how to do that. And the only way to do it is to practice the scales. Go at your own pace. That's the important thing. When you're just beginning, it's hard to go that fast. But eventually, it'll be like this. Now, to get those notes to be really smooth takes lots of practice. And there are times that I'm not smooth either. I'm going too fast. So if you take it down and go at your own pace, you're going to be able to accomplish this.